In watching my Clockwork videos, you may have noticed how they had trouble with switches, with railroad crossings and derailleurs. Now, I always thought this was something that couldn't be fixed. That had to do with the large flanges on these trains. But then recently, I picked up this Lincoln International Clockwork train for just $5. And I thought that I would take it and see if I could improve its performance. The first thing I did to improve the running of this engine was to sand down the flanges. Initially, Mini's trains were made to run on this plastic track with the huge rails, and so they had thick flanges on them. I initially tried to spin one side with the drill while holding a piece of sandpaper on the flange on the other side, but that didn't work out too well. So I ended up just bending the sandpaper over the flange and just sanding back and forth. I sand on one section for a little while, and then I turn it and I sand some more. I kept on doing that till I got the flanges down to what you see here. They are roughly they're about 2 millimeters in height now, which makes them pretty similar to the flanges on this Jouef Clockwork train, although they're still pretty tall for a regular HO scale engine. Now, when I run it on sectional track, you can barely feel the flanges touch the top of the spikes, but it doesn't jump or anything, as you can see. I could have sanded it down some more, but this will work fine, especially for the track I'll be running it on. The next thing I did was check the gauge. Most of these Clockwork trains have plastic wheels pressed onto either plastic or metal axles, and so they can be moved in and out slightly. You can use an NMRA gauge to check their gauge, or let's take another set of wheels of trusted gauge and just compare them. So, as you can see here, I pretty much got the gauge of this one dialed in. So let's look at this Hornby chassis. If we do the same thing, its wheels are a bit too far in. So what you do is, you just take a knife, insert it between the wheel and the chassis, and very, very gently twist it until you feel it give. Let me try this side. It doesn't take much. This is not a time to prove how strong you are. Just very gentle. I felt that one give. So let's see. So the back one is just about right. I didn't feel the front one give. Looks like they're about right as well. Next, I lubricate them. For that, I mix a little bit of grease and oil and just brush it onto the gears. On this one, I can also brush a little on the ends of the axles, right here I also like to put some oil onto the spring itself, because as you wind the spring down and as it unwinds, it rubs on itself. So it just kind of gives it some lubrication as it does so. Now these trains, these Clockwork trains, will throw some of that oil on the track. So what I do is when I'm switching my trains out, and that's when I run these, and after I run them, I give the track a quick cleaning before putting my next set of trains on. So we've taken my whole collection, we've checked the gauges on them and adjusted them. I sanded down the flanges on this one, and we've lubricated them. Let's see now if we can get a better performance out of them real quickly. Another tip, which I almost forgot to mention, is if you still have trouble with it jumping off the track, is to try attaching a car to it. Putting a car in the end helps to give it some directional stability, so it's less likely to jump left or right off of the track. One final tip is that I have found that these tracks that have a roadbed built in, whether it's this lifelike power lock track I have here, or Bachmann Easy track, or I believe a Kato unit track, they all have smaller spikes holding the rails down than the sectional track I showed earlier, which is why I didn't sand down the wheels or flanges on the Lincoln International any further than I did. Without further ado, let's see how they do now. Notice it doesn't bump through the crossings or through switches. So that's the Hornby Thomas ones. Next is a pair of Jouef engines. Another pair of Hornby from the 1950s. I couldn't wind that green one all the way. You can see for yourself too how many laps I'm getting out of them. Now we have a Lima Jouef engine on the outside and a Miniville on the inside. Once again, I had trouble winding the Miniville up all the way. That Jouef Lima has the pancake flanges on it. You can see how smoothly it runs, and here how smoothly it runs. A Lima Crick locomotive and a Lima chassis you saw me working on earlier. Without the weight of a body, that Hornby chassis runs pretty smoothly. And finally, a Lincoln International train with the thick flanges and the steamroller wheels. Can it really run smoothly? Let's find out. There you go. Whoop. Did bounce off that one crossing. Still, you can see it's a whole lot better performance than before. Finally, don't let anybody on eBay goad you into spending more than maybe $50 for a locomotive and less than $100 for a train set. These are still just toys and are not that rare. I hope this helps. Thanks for watching. Please like and share.